Hello, I'm David O'Connor, and welcome to the Canadian Real Estate Revolution podcast. If you're a realtor, a franchise, or independent brokerage owner, you might want to check this one out. I had the privilege of interviewing Michele Bouchard. For those of you who don't know who Michele is, she has had one of the most accomplished real estate careers in the country. She used to own 3 different franchises. She's been a CPA for over 35 years. She was the Canada-wide financial controller for Exp. We cover a lot in this interview, from chatting about Michele's phenomenal real estate career all the way through to her coming out of retirement to become a co-founder and the chief financial officer of the groundbreaking Canadian real estate brokerage KIC Realty. This is a great one. Check it out. How you doing, Michele?
I'm awesome. I'm a little nervous, can't lie, but this is my first podcast, which I think I've told you. So I was telling some people that I was doing this, and they're all going, well, where do I go to watch it? And I'm like,
I'll send you a link. So yeah, you'll be famous. Or if they want to watch, because we stream these live, I can let you know. I'll tag you when when the stream is going out, so you can either watch the live stream or I'll send you the recording after. But you got this. For those, well, they're tuning in, but we were just chatting for a while anyway. We basically shot 2 unrecorded podcasts right before this. So this is like your 3rd podcast.
Right. Yeah.
No, really appreciate you doing this. As you know, we're doing the founder series for KIC, being able to, you're the last one for me to get the full collection.
Well, hopefully I'm the best.
Yeah, well, for sure. I thought the best place to start is, why don't you let us know a little bit about your background, your journey, and some of the, milestone stops along the way.
Okay. Well, let's see. I'm originally from Ontario, and I have spent a big part of my life not living in Ontario. I've lived in BC, Alberta, Manitoba, up in the Northwest Territories, up in Inuvik for 5 years. And then I lived in Whitehorse for 3 years. So I lived in Quebec when I was a kid too, but I don't remember that because I was too little. So I am a Canadian girl through and through.
Kidding. I said you might be the most Canadian person I've ever met.
It's been quite a journey. I can tell you, we have a huge, beautiful country. And every province or place that I've lived, at heart, we're all Canadians, but we're so big. Each little province that you live in is almost like an island onto its own. But, you know, I've traveled this all around it. I've driven it. Like, I've driven the Dempster Highway. I don't know how many times. I've driven from here back east. I don't know how many times. So I feel that I've actually seen our country, except for the East Coast. Haven't been there yet. I did go down to the Gaspé. So anyways, that's my Canadian side of me. As far as, I have basically been self-employed my whole entire life. I got my accounting designation, 35 years ago. And I had my own accounting practice for 15 years. And at the same time, one of my business opportunities that I had is I had 3 real estate brokerages, and I was involved, quite substantially with that business, which I had for 25 years. And so I've got, a wide variety of knowledge about accounting information systems from all different industries, wide and far. But I definitely have a substantial knowledge of real estate accounting. So that's pretty much my background. I sold my brokerages in 2016. And then I had thought that I was going to retire. And I actually had one of my old partners from years ago, Debbie, who had called me when she started working at our competitor and asked me if I would be interested in taking on the controllership position for the Canadian operations. And I really had hesitated because I thought, I kind of want to just retire. And then I thought, what, I feel like I'm a little bit out of the game. And it gave me an opportunity to, kind of just get my feet wet and see if really I wanted to retire or not. So I took on that challenge. And it was a very interesting experience. What was interesting for me is the modeling at our competitor was something I had been toying with when I had my own real estate brokerage. So when I did come and work at our competitor, it was really easy for me to embrace how all of that was working together, because I had already kind of visualized in my mind something very similar of what I want to do.
Like a cloud-based model.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because owning my brokerage, I mean, definitely we were brick and mortar. However, through my time there, especially once I sold my accounting practice and I became more hands-on at our office, the technology, even with scanning PDFs and moving from a photocopier to emails, and I could see where the potential of the industry was going. And so I thought, it would mean that I'm not saying you would totally need not to have a brick and mortar location, but you would be able to reduce the size of those, because basically realtors work from their cars, they do, or their houses or whatever. So I thought we could take advantage of that. So anyways, when I worked at our competitor, got to see how they did things, and things there that I liked and things that I didn't like. And eventually, I left there probably about 3 years ago. So since then, I again retired again. And then
that seems to be a big theme with KIC Realty. A lot of people coming out of retirement.
Yeah. Well, and I think from what I know of the other founders, it was the challenge that all of us, I think, have fascinated us about trying to do something that was truly Canadian and would have Canadian values and using Canadian know-how, because Canadians can be can be critical thinkers. And so we all put our hats on and, explored whether there was something there that we were interested in doing. And, here we are.
So how did those early conversations start? And then how did you get to, I guess, where we are today?
Well, I'm sure some of the other founders probably would have mentioned Debbie's name. So Debbie, Debbie was one of my original partners, and I've known her since 96. And she, so I've talked to her on and off for years. Willie, I met while at my competitor. Him and I had left our competitor about the same time, and jokingly we said, oh, maybe one day we should do something together. And Willie went off and traveled the world and whatever.
Yeah.
And then Debbie had called us about a few things that she was looking at, and asked if I was interested in taking a look at what she was considering doing. And it wasn't something that I was interested in doing when I was fair about that. But I said to Debbie, if we were going to do something like this, I want it to be Canadian. I did not want to be bringing like another American company into Canada where they know nothing about our industry. They don't know, there's so much work and heavy lift that has to be done. And I thought, why are we as Canadians building somebody else's business when we can do that ourselves? That's pretty much what I thought. So, we had several meetings with a group of us, Willie was there, Ron was there, and a few other people. And we just thought we would just kind of explore things. And that's basically what we did. And we spent a lot of time modeling things out, identifying key things that we thought we would need with the stock component. That's how we, got Michael involved. I knew enough to know about stocks that I didn't know enough to know about stocks. So that's why I thought, yeah, right. But as far as Willie, he brought our competitor. He was the first one to actually have that coming in Canada. So he already had years of experience in the modeling of that. So, I thought we had a lot of really good, solid, experienced people at the table, all very ethical people, all extremely experienced managing brokers and also business people. And Michael's piece was he's 30 years just in dealing with capital equity markets. I mean, I wouldn't even begin to understand.
Oh, yeah, we got in the weeds a little bit. I'm going to do a separate podcast on his relationship with Nintendo and designing video games.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
He's guy.
Yeah, he really truly is. And so I like to think that we have an awesome team here. And what is important to me is to have absolute trust in people. Like if you don't have trust, how can you have a business relationship with anybody and or have a successful business? And I feel that we are all working on the same page for the same reasons, and that again, each one of us, or at least for my perspective of the other founders, I just feel that they're, really solid individuals and are absolutely committed to making this be the best brokerage that we can be.
Yeah. So doing these interviews, as I said, I've interviewed the other three. It's so obvious now how well the four of you kind of complement each other. Like you all have your strengths. It's almost like there's some overlap, but there's no duplication. Everyone's got their strength. Mm-hmm. And with yours, I know, obviously being a franchise owner, being a CPA for over 35 years and putting those pieces together with the Canadian real estate industry, then being exposed and being the Canadian controller for a really big cloud-based company. So you have that experience. To me, it's like there couldn't be someone better that I know to do the job you're doing to contribute to the KIC model. So thank you.
Well, thank you. That's quite a little thing there to say.
You didn't send me any money for that.
Yeah, wow. I didn't even have to bribe you. That's just like fantastic. I would for sure, as far as the way this is set up and everything, I absolutely feel that I got definitely a high level understanding of, how that works, for our transactions, for our accounting system, the way our technology is all working. I mean, I have the benefit of using glasses to look back through history to see what has worked and what hasn't. And I've also had, because of my years of experience, I've had the experience of seeing the change in the industry. Right. And how that has evolved. And what I mean by that is when I first got into what I'm doing now, there was no IDX. Everything was printed out on catalogs.
Yeah, I don't know how you did it.
Yeah, it was a huge change, and to have that change management to bring all of this large group of body of individuals along the path with the changing technology has been astounding. And the costs have changed. I remember when they, with the access to the MLS here in BC where I live, they had Vandat and Aurora, and you used to go on to those systems and you had to pay per minute when you were on those systems. So, it wasn't uncommon for an agent to forget to log themselves out and get an $850 bill from the board because they forgot to log out of the system. So, the technology has changed substantially. And with the onset of things like the IDX system, the ability to push information out into thousands, millions of websites around the country is just astounding. And what I mean by that, my vision, even years ago when I had first got really deep into technology for my brokerage, it was like, okay, an agent, I want to follow the process. Agent puts in a listing in the MLS system. It should be able to be pushed out onto the marketing sites, go into our brokerage site, come into our accounting system, have that paperless part to make sure that The entry of the information wasn't being duplicated by 10 people. So the system that we have been working with at KIC, I think we have it. Where before the technology, even, with at our competitors, is absolutely, completely not there from that perspective. The technology that I had when I had my own, real estate brokerage at that time, it was too new to have a complete end-to-end solution. But I truly believe that we have that here, and it'll be a seamless system for all users, from the agent perspective, the transaction people, the conveyance people, the financial reporting for the client. That's the vision, the key core thing of what I'm trying to do here.
And for those who don't know, like, say an agent's watching this and they're focused on just trading real estate and they don't even realize what's happening in the back end. Just one example of one of the things you're talking about. My personal example is being with the competitor that I came from. Is this their technology just wasn't working properly? And the example I use is I had the KV core system, and my MLS information was constantly changing. And how that impact my business is I'm setting up clients with automatic listings or market reports, and they're just not right. Say the average price in my market, 600K for a house. I noticed the one day it's over $1 million. Oh, now it's pulling in all the commercial properties, or now it's pulling in this other region, or now the links broke. So I'm sending my client these reports that have like no pictures or wrong data, and it just reflects really poorly. And I was getting pretty frustrated with that. Like how this technology, it would work here and there, but I couldn't rely on it. And the whole point of those systems is I set up 100 people on these reports, so I don't have to worry about it. But now it reflects poorly on me. That's how just one piece of technology really impact my business. So now I got to micromanage everything. Well, that defeats the purpose of having this tool. So what I love, what's happening with KIC is right away, well, it helps that it's Canadian technology, but the integration of just the MLS, just having the confidence, knowing the information is correct, is, I don't know, a huge relief for me. I appreciate it. Never mind, I know what you're talking about, bringing all the redundancy of all these different tools and bringing everything together. So it's like a one-stop shop. But a lot of that does happen in the background. But man, does it make a difference when it's working properly?
That's the problem. Is a lot of the tools that agents are using over the years, they're designed for a different country. And, little things like Canadian postal codes, they're not an American zip code. And so those types of systems can't even begin to recognize the differences. So we are different. We're different. And our on the surface of things, you think it's really similar, but it isn't. And that's why it's such a problem when you're dealing with software for those types of things in particular that don't work here in Canada, because they're not designed for Canadians. It's designed for Americans. You understand if we brought something over from England, you'd go, oh, yeah, that made sense. It doesn't work. But
yeah. We talked offline about this in Lent, and people do sleep on this, like how different the two countries are. Well, not just culturally, but as you said, their tech may not work, or the rules are different up here. And one example I like to give is the rules around sharing information up in Canada is very strict. Yes. I set in on a course for Canadians with someone from the US, tell me the call expired. I was like, we're not allowed to. We're not allowed to call expired. That's just one example. So taking the time, if they were to do it right, they should have done their homework. As you were saying offline, you got to work with the right experts up here to do everything right. But when you force things too quickly, you're not being compliant, your technology doesn't work, and then you're not built for sustainability, and you're going to have all these headaches in the future, which we've seen now.
You know what I would say to that too is, just like any brokerage is, they all are at risk for the one agent that does things the wrong way, right? And what I mean by that, you can have one person, it just takes one bad apple, And that one bad apple can, it affects everybody else's license because, that can be very problematic. When you're talking about what you're talking about is, yeah, we have different privacy laws. We take our shoes off when we go into somebody's house. Like we do. That's a Canadian thing to do. Why? Because we don't want to get people's floors dirty. I mean, we can go to our competitor down south of the border and they don't care if they dirty somebody else's floor. We don't, we're just different. And I think we need to embrace our differences, not try to, paint everybody with the same brush. So, that, and again, that's one of the things that is really important to us at KIC is we are Canadian. Like it's a good thing, not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
And we talked offline about this, and I said I'm being honest when I say I didn't come to KIC for the Canadian component. I came model, the people, and the stock opportunity. But now that I'm over here, especially having these meetings is really helping as well. But I now see the difference, and there's a lot. But one of them is that mentality that U.S. and I don't want to paint a brush. I'm like, there's liberal or different companies, but there's a lot of the U.S. companies, and it's like it's the individualism versus up here. It really feels like more like a collaborative community. Really feeling that now. And then, as I said, as soon as I came over here to KIC, I was like, breath of relief. I was like, oh, I feel like I'm with my tribe. I'm with my people. Because I'd go to these other U.S. hurrah events. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. Right? They're not, we Canadians, we don't do that.
Yeah.
The only time we yell and scream is if we're at a hockey game. We are very understated, I would say.
Again, so this wasn't the reason I came over, but now it's a massive thing I love. And it's easy for people to kind of skate over the Canadian piece, which is, I'm happy we're talking about it in a little detail because there's so many great things, other things going on with the actual model. But the Canadian piece, I think is massive. And it's definitely a talking point for me now when I talk to people about the company.
Well, I don't know if you may know this or not. When we named KIC, we went, I mean, that was harder to do than anything. None of us could think of a name. We knew we wanted it to be short, and we wanted it to be an acronym of what our core values were. And so we ended up with knowledge, integrity, and community. And I sent the name over to a friend of mine, and she just took it and marinated it with her for a few days. And she comes back and she says, what does KIC mean to you? And I said, knowledge, integrity, and community. And she said, I thought it meant keeping it Canadian. Yeah. And I was like, what?
This is a coincidence.
That's how that got coined. And I would like, none of us, that was not what that meant, but that is become what it means. And at the end of it, why did she think that? Because she knows we all have Canadian values, and she just couldn't get that out of her mind. That's all she kept thinking is Canadian, Canadian, Canadian. And I was like, it was so. When you see my email, you do see that in there, keeping it Canadian. Because I mean, I think I should have to pay her every single time I send an email. But anyways, that's how it's the feedback that I've had is they love the fact that it's Canadian. Absolutely.
Yeah, not to mention, and I feel like I want to build a slide to illustrate this, but just how much of the money in Canadian transactions are going south. I don't even know what the percent is. I could guess, but I would say it's got to be close to 3/4.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is I believe completely in keeping Canadian dollars in Canada. This is where we are providing services for other Canadians here in the country. They're paying, I mean, as it is, Canadians are absolutely struggling with the cost of housing. They're struggling with the cost of food. I mean, the cost of things, and it's not only in Canada, it certainly is all around the world. But you know what? We live in Canada, and I'm only dealing with what I see. And I think it's important employing Canadians, I think it's important to put profits, if there is any, back into Canadian pockets. Why would we want to give our hard-earned money to another country when we don't have to? Something that really, bothered me is that there's, we can give to our community. And when I say our community, I mean your market area. If you live in, whether it's where I live here in the Lower Mainland, and I see people that are in need, our modeling is to help with those things. That's a Canadian value, is to be helpful with our community. And when we start forgetting those things, then we're really going to lose our way, I think. So
what you're saying is you don't like the idea of the money going down south and buying some private jets for a handful of people?
Drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy.
The other thing, so when I looked at the model the first time, so obviously first and foremost, brokerage has to help you trade real estate, right? So that's why I was excited about the technology, the people. The problem I had with the competitor too was most of the people I'm aligned with were in the US. So being able to help me with, Canadian real estate problems, I was running into something with that. So I like the support, the technology that's being provided at a low cost. And I know sometimes people don't like to hear the term revenue share, but I think it's really important because these numbers I heard Mark McLean. So this is from Mark, but out in Alberta now, about 25% of agents are on a rev share type model. And in Ontario, it's only 3%. And I feel like the West always starts the trends, like things like, we were talking earlier about multiple rep in BC, and now Ontario is trying to catch up with stuff that's been going on out West with these treasure updates and all these rule changes. But I really feel like the West kind of starts the tone. And I believe revenue share will just be commonplace and expected by agents in the near future. So it got a bad stigma with some of these other companies, recruiters and this and that. But the reality is it's a secondary revenue stream. So your commissions first and foremost, but you're being paid more. And one of the brilliant things I like about the company is the rev share model and the thought that went into it and how it kind of spreads the wealth a lot more evenly to all the agents versus making a few people millionaires. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the thought that went into the rev share model?
Well, I've got a few comments about what you just said. So, again, I was a broker owner for 25 years. Being that I was a broker owner, how our business, as mine and my partners did, the agents did not share in one penny of that. That all went into mom and pop here, which, I mean, not that we were mom and pop, because we weren't, but we were mom and pop from a business perspective. Gotcha. So, some of our agents were with us for 25, some of them are still there, and wonderful agents. But at the end of the day, when they go to retire, all of their marketing, all of their time and effort that they put in to help grow that brokerage, they will receive nothing for that. Nothing. What they will get is, if they're lucky, they will be able to maybe sell their book of business or whatever to somebody else who may be able to be successful with it or not. But, that's it. There's no retirement plan there. With revenue share here, with the modeling here, is all of the agents are shareholders. I am a shareholder just like you are, David, and just like Willie is, just like I'm going to use Saharla. We're all shareholders. This isn't, where the business is making money and it's all going to Michele and the founders. No, it's going to you guys. And that will form part of, hopefully, the capital appreciation of your retirement plan. And the revenue share that you receive throughout your time here is, you can choose to use it to build your personal retirement package, or however way you want. But it is to give you an additional income stream that is over and above your commission income. It's all about being in balance. It's all about being in balance. I don't know if that really answered your question.
No, it does. And again, I always like, just in case there's someone watching that isn't familiar, how the revenue share works is if you introduce someone to the company, and when they do a deal, you get a small piece from their transaction from the company side, not the agent side.
Mm-hmm.
And the rev share model, there's 5 tiers at KIC. They're all open.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought one of the brilliant strokes of the company, like the competitors and some of those other companies that, kind of made the rev share program popular, they're now they're hurting because there's revenue share shortfalls. It's actually
Absolutely
one of the companies. It's 27% as of last week. I just got that update because they've allocated too much for rev share, and it's just not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. First thing with the rev share model is that we're using 30%.
Yes.
We're not going to run into these problems that these other competitors have where there's big shortfalls. So you're not going to run into that. But the other thing we're just talking about again offline is if somebody leaves in your your downline or your upline for that matter, that doesn't go back to the company. That goes into the separate rev share fund.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that part.
Yep.
The rev share fund works.
Yes. Couple of things about what you just said. So our revenue share model is static. There's a difference where our competitors are basing it on a changing matrix all the time. So it can go up, it can go down based on what the overall cap revenue is, where ours is not like that. Ours is, we've already said, out of every time you do a deal and your cap is deducted, the 20% of that on up until your cap goes into the general fund, I'm going to call it, and then immediately 30% of that goes into the revenue fund.
Yep.
And it sits there. So our revenue share expense from a KIC perspective is always 30%. It does not go up. It does not go down. It's hard code 30%. And that money that's moved into the other fund is what is used to pay the people's revenue or referral piece. That's what they get. Whatever is left in that at the end of the year is dispersed to the shareholders. And you are a shareholder.
Yeah.
And the amount that you get is totally relevant to how many shares that you have. So in a roundabout way, you might not have anybody in your referral network, but because you're a shareholder, you still will get some money from that fund.
And that's a whole other thing, how the stock awards and the way you can purchase shares in the company as well.
Yeah.
We can get into that in a second. So that's what I love, because the model's more sustainable because it's the 30%. And it's because it's separated and put right into that fund. And then if there's any kind of surplus left at the end of the year, it gets divvied up evenly across shareholders and dispersed as it and dispersed as a dividend.
Yes.
So it's another way you're getting paid is not just your rev share, your dividends. I thought that was brilliant. And in fact, again, that it's all open. Like the competitors would have one tier open, but I don't know the exact numbers. Maybe you do, but I would say maybe 1% of the company ever opens up tier 2. And that never mind, never mind that final tier, which is the most lucrative, the 25% of the rev share. So the 5% tier, I'd say maybe, well, they made it easier, but maybe 50, 60. I'd be surprised if it was 100. So instead of making a handful of people millionaires, it's all open.
It's everybody.
So the wealth is spread out.
Yes.
And you're going to deter, I think, the recruiter types too, which some of those companies get stigma for as well. So the thought that went into that rev share model, you nailed it.
The other thing, I look at it, no matter what we're doing here, whether it is the revenue share or whether it is the stock component, you earn it, you should get it. And with the way the revenue share we designed it, I want everybody to get exactly what they should get. I'm not looking, like, to me, once it's been removed and put into that account, I don't care, because that's the way the model works. And I hope that whoever is in has those will earn it accordingly and get every penny they're entitled to. The same with the stocks is I hate golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
If you've earned something, I think you should get it. I don't think it should be prefaced with, if I'll give you this, if you continue to do this. If you earn it, you should get it. If I'm not doing my job as the broker or the CFO or whatever it is, and you're unhappy, leave, because I don't want you here. I want happy people that are here to work together collaboratively in a community. And I don't want you or anybody to think that they have to continue to be here at KIC because they could miss getting a share that they 3 years from now that they earned. I'd rather you have that now and never hold you to make you feel like you have to stay. That is something that, I mean, of course, I don't want you to leave, but at the same time, I don't want you to feel that you have to be holden to stay here because I'm holding a carrot over your head.
Yeah. When I left the competitor, my stock awards was framed that these are awards that I earned for bringing people to the company, for capping. So I naively thought that they're vesting for 3 years. It's, to control people buying and selling. But then when I was exiting, I just assumed I was getting it because it's held with a third party. I earned it. Mm-hmm. And then they pivoted from I earned it to it's a gift. Mm-hmm. You have to be here to get your gift. Mm-hmm. I was, no. And then with KIC right away, looking through the model, if you want to leave, and spoiler, I don't think many people will, but the company, even though we're still private now, obviously the plan is to IPO down the road, but while we're still private, so you can't sell your stock, the company will buy it back at a 25%.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to defer to Michael on that one.
Okay. So I'll take that as well, but I like that. I like what you were saying, like you earned it, right?
Yes.
These are awards you're just earning by just being a realtor. Like they have you cap at your 75K GCI, mm-hmm. you get an award. You ambassador, mm-hmm. which is the production award. Yeah, I think it's 15,000 shares, which is great.
Yeah, or you do 20 ends over top of your capping,
right?
And then you get the ambassador award, and then your fees, for the rest of the year. So I mean, we have definitely a definition between your referral network and your production. They are two totally things. And I know we talked a little bit about this offline too, is that we want the agent here to do, which is what they're here to do, which is to help their clients buy and sell real estate and service all their real estate needs. Yep. And we don't want to be seeing you be taking your time away from doing that to immerse yourself in, just helping other people that are in your downline. I mean, of course you could do that if you want, but that's our job. Our job is to help to keep you guys connected to the brokerage. We want everybody, no matter who they are, to feel, whether they're an agent, an employee, equal. Yeah. It is, everybody deserves to have the resources and that they need all the way through.
And what I really like that I just learned from you today too, is that the income you get from your revenue share goes towards your cap.
Yes.
So say you have, some decent people under you, then you're making a decent amount of rev share. It's 75K GCI. So maybe you're at 70, but you have 5 in rev share so far on the year. And when you cap early, you go from 80% of your commission to 100. So the quicker you cap is huge. So
yes,
I really like that piece as well. So
you're using your passive income, because that's what the revenue share is your passive residual income. You're using that to help your earnings get faster in your pocket. And at the same time, we're trying very hard to ensure that the revenue share model is actually attained. And I mean, to make sure that you get the maximum amount out of it that you can based on our structure. So, and that is to make sure that everybody accordingly is putting into it as well. If you don't put into it, why should we have where a bunch of people are putting in and a whole bunch of different people are getting it? None of the ones that are putting in are getting it. And that to me is just doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, and correct me if this part is wrong, but so there's the program where you can put up to 5% of your commissions towards buying company stock at a 10% discount?
We don't have a discount. I mean, for
Okay.
one, our stock price is really small right now. That
Yeah, so
may
that's
change as we go forward. Probably should circle back to Michael on this. We've actually, at this point, capped how much you can buy in on your stock at the 5%, which basically works out to about your same as your capping period.
fine.
And the reason for that is Michael's modeling for the shares is very specific. It's not just a whamsy-pamsy thing that he's done. Is he's mapped out exactly how many shares are for this, how many of them are going to be available for purchase, how many of them are available for private placement, how many of them are available for care, and how many of them are available for
Gotcha.
awards. And once they're gone, that class of shares is gone. He's done that as well as to ensure that we have the ability to declare dividends or whatever according to share class, so that, you know, it all doesn't just go to one group of people like the founders. It goes to the Bs and the Cs and whatever. So it's a lot more to it than that. So this year right now, I think the maximum you can buy through your commission for the care is $3,750 of shares.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what the number is.
What I like though is you're trading real estate, which is what agents do. And then
Mhm.
you're getting stock awards for just doing that. And because you have more stocks, you're potentially getting then dividend payouts as being a shareholder.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
more
like double, triple dipping. I like the overlap. So if for those obviously who don't know, most agents only get paid through their commission splits. Not only do I feel like our split is better than most, never mind how quickly you get to 100%, but then you're getting a revenue share, you're getting stock awards, the opportunity to buy stocks, and you're getting your dividends.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, you know, building for the future, right? Agents, and I find agents in general, I'm sure that there's some that are better than others, are not great with their finances. So it's great when they're on the treadmill pumping out all this productivity and doing a lot of deals. But what happens when it's time to hang it
Pay
up?
the piper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm hanging up, and everything stops if you haven't planned for the future.
So that makes me think about something else I would like to say. So yeah, that's the financial component, right? So there's the financial component, and the thing about like tax savings and stuff like that, it's all, you don't ever like save money in tax. It's deferral. It's deferral. So there's different ways that you can do that. And one of the things we can do to help that is we can remit your taxes and stuff like that for you off of your commission check, and, you know, other services like that we can do. But we've only been talking about the financial part here right now, and the other piece though is the cultural part of what we want to do at KIC. And that is, we want to build a collaborative community. We want to make sure that it's not a dog eat dog world. These are your colleagues, these are your friends, these are your acquaintances. You know, it's okay to have friendly competition and all that kind of stuff, but your fellow realtors, they help you sell your houses. We all have to work together. We're trying very hard to put the power of the brokers at their best.
Right.
And that is, they've been lost in the shuffle, and just a lot of them have been, for lack of a better word, I hate to make it sound so negative, but just basically a license for hire. Because if you don't have that broker, you can't operate a brokerage. Well, there's more to than just their license. Under the Real Estate Services Acts in all of the provinces, the managing broker is the key person that the regulator has put in charge of that brokerage, not the owner of the brokerage. It's the managing broker. And their role is to ensure that they comply with the Real Estate Services Acts around the country. They are always supposed to be in effective control of the brokerage and know what's going on with every single one of their agents that they're in charge of. And we want to make sure that we have given the authority and the tools for the brokers that we hire to be able to do their job, because they are our first line of defense. They're the ones that know when it's time to pick up the phone and call a brokerage of another agency when they have an issue. They're also the ones that know what the agents are supposed to be doing to follow the Real Estate Services Act they're the ones that, help to keep the realtor out of real estate jail and also to keep the brokerage out of legal suits. So we're working hard to make sure that each of the provincial managing brokers have the tools that they need to do their jobs effectively and to therefore support all of the agents along their paths of providing real estate services to the client.
And we've got some superstar provincial brokers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I mean, we have Mark in Ontario, and then Ron, one of the founders. I mean, I don't even know how, I think he's been a managing broker for what, 25 years. Then we also have some managing brokers that are just licensed with us that are also long-term. I think altogether in the small little population that we have right now, I think we have 12 managing brokers.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then we've got Parn, that huge experience. Yeah. Willie, myself. I've got Janet. I mean, Janet, she's a managing broker over on the island. And she's also I always forget what the RI designation is. So these are all really long-term, well-established managing brokers. And we're working hard to make sure, again, all of our systems in that are in place to help them to help the agents.
No, it's great. The fact that I can get someone like Mark and Ron, and they basically reply to me within 15, 20 minutes, and they're really busy, but being able to pick their brains on some of these things. Yeah, I just remember that was one of my issues in the past was support and guidance, especially when you're in those tricky real estate situations and you can't talk to anyone that can help, or you drop it in a chat and nobody's responding. So just immediately get someone like that. It's so important for real estate agents. As you said, protect you and protect the company as well.
And the client too. Like we're there to get the client into legally enforceable contract and to make sure that we've done all of our due diligence to help the client, on the way through. And no transaction is the same. They're all different. And you can have just something, an issue that can come up in a file is to be astonishing, but it is, and it's not an out of the box issue. And to be able to have the ability for the brokers also to have that support group amongst each other to help them work through those issues is huge to be able to do that.
And I want to showcase some of them. People don't realize it's some of the best real estate minds in the country. That's who's helping us. So I think it's another thing I don't want people to sleep on how important that is.
Absolutely. That is absolutely true.
So this is my last one for you. So we've talked obviously Lance about the Canadian part that I love, and some of the best parts of this model, all the revenues, the supports, the technology, how they work together, work in general, which is nice. Where do you see, if you're looking into your crystal ball, I don't want to say what's the plan, but where do you see the future of KIC Realty in the next 3, 5, 10 years?
Well, that is, I would like to see that we've started this as a brokerage. Absolutely. And we're looking at ancillary services. Absolutely. Where you've got your typical ancillary services that you see with most brokerages.
Coaching and
or mortgage, like you see them all. I mean, but what I'd like to see is have, again, because we do have a commitment to our shareholders, and to make our shareholders, just like any good business, like take a page out of Warren Buffett. He's got, he's in a multitude of different types of businesses, and he does that to build the wealth of the shares for the holders of his shares. And I mean, he owns things like in Coca-Cola, different things. So I'd like to see us do more, that this is one piece of what the overall direction will be for KIC. And, I want us to be, for sure, to have that knowledge, integrity, and community, but to make sure that all of us, like it takes a family or a village to raise a family. That's one of the things that they say. So each shareholder here should be willing to roll up their sleeves and help build that community, because this isn't just, if you think you're going to come here and say, what's my brokerage going to do for me? It's like, what are you going to do for your brokerage? Because we're all in this together, and we want all of us, it's going to take all of us to move this forward to reach all of our dreams. So do I see where we're going to have, I don't know, 10,000 agents in 2 years, 10 years, whatever, maybe. But what really is important is to make sure that, if we can have 1,000 agents and have them all being really successful and making a really good return on their money, that's what I want to see. I don't want to, it's not all about just having bums in the seat, if that makes sense.
No. There's something to be said about quality over quantity as well.
Yes. Right? Yes.
Bringing in good people, then the rest will take care of itself.
Yes. So I have lofty goals, and I have to be careful what I say, because then I'm pretty sure I'll have Michael going, don't talk like that. So
we'll talk offline.
Yeah. I'll tell you that in another story. But no, we do have. I like to look at this as phase number 1.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's lots of other things that we have down the pipe. But that's what us as the founders are working on. And as time goes on, things will unfold. And then what we have to do is learn to embrace other opportunities. And that's kind of what I have to say about that.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense to me. And what's become really evident from these interviews I've been doing is how strong the foundation is and how this company is built for sustainability. And I feel like you need to have a strong foundation when the time comes for opportunities or being able to pivot. If you don't have the basics, you got to build up the basics. This problems these other companies are running into, they were too gung-ho to get in there. But if you have a strong foundation, then you can maneuver. You got to get that phase 1 right, because everything builds upon that.
And, I wanted to say to that is the agents that we have that are here right now, absolutely amazing. Every one of them, we've elicited their help. So what we're saying is, this is what we're thinking we're doing. We're implementing this, and we want you to test it for us and give us your feedback. And if the feedback has been positive, perfect. If there's been things that we've needed to change, then we are. But my point is that this isn't where it's all top down and here you're going to do this. This is like, we really want to make sure that the experience that we're providing for the agent truly is the right one. But we have a few more software pieces that we're working on that will kind of roll out the whole suite of things. And, they're taking a bit of time to get them stood up. But each person here is known well enough that when they came here, that was, that they're a part of that experience. They're a part of building this, like David being the first podcaster guy.
Oh, yeah. On the Ontario Council, and now I'm also on the events and planning for Ontario.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in giving back. I'm not saying I'm going to do these every year.
No.
But everyone should take their turn, at least, right?
Yeah.
Michelle, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome.
We kept it to a tight hour, which is good.
We did? Wow, that's amazing for me.
As I said, well, we had our chat before, which, as I said,
Yes.
would have been at least 1 or 2 podcasts. As I said, I'll have even your information, a link below if anybody wants to find out a little bit more about you. And as I said, you're going to be part of the whole series. And I'm looking forward to doing one of these down the road when we're talking phase 2 stuff.
Okay, sounds great.
All right.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.